Okay, before we purge, we're gonna make a little absorption pad to put under the print bar while we purge. So we get these from HP. There's 7 of them. We're just gonna tape them together, throw them under the print bar, and start. Hey. Okay. Need to find a piece of cardboard. We're going to wait to put this underneath the print bar entirely, just to make sure we don't crash the print bar into the absorbers. That can crack your nozzles just because of how flexible it is. So we're going to go ahead and plug it in. It's going to move the service sled around a little bit, and then it's going to start priming the ink pumps. Now it's going to start priming the pumps. Do that for 30 seconds or so. Okay, let's see how far the print bar comes down. So that's where we expect it. It's coming down to about this edge. We're going to go ahead and put the absorbers under there because we know it's not going to crash into them now. Okay, it's going to start to purge. This is going to take about 30 minutes. Okay, so we're done purging. We're going to go ahead and pull the absorbers out. And we know that it's done purging because the service sled is capped and we've got a bunch of ink on here so we can see that it's done. And I'm going to get rid of this. And we can close the printer now. Just pop that back into place. This there. Okay. Manage the cables a little later. Okay. We're also going to plug in our Ethernet cable. We're going to get our encoder. On our test rig, the switch for the encoder direction needs to be pointed toward the back of the printer. TOF. Make sure they're clear of the belt. So to find our printer, we need the IP address. I'm going to go to our network, and we just programmed 385, so we're going to double click that. Gives us our IP address here. We're going to open up our Windows interface. Settings. We're going to set the IP address to match this one, and then it'll start, we'll be able to communicate it through this interface after that. Okay, pretty much always start out saying genuine OEM. Just going to go clear that. Okay, so when we start a new printer, we're going to open up our hidden controls by holding down this orange O in Postmark on the settings screen. Hold down Admin Console. Just going to adjust these over and bring them back. What we're doing here is refreshing the settings in the printer. I'm just keeping them to around what they were before. So on the setup we have right now, about 16.25 inches. Not much of a leading edge adjustment. And we want to adjust this pen to paper to be about 0.5 millimeter. And then we can close that. Get a piece of paper ready. Okay. And we're going to run a test print. So click and hold test print on the settings screen. to start, the printer is going to go into a maintenance clean. So we just heard the relay click and we have a green circle. That means we're ready to turn the conveyor on. Okay. So we missed the top of the page a little bit, and we have a little bit of contamination in the yellow. So let's go ahead, get our leading edge back. We're going to print later. We'll just set it about there. All that good. And to clear the contamination, we're going to hold Windows R. We're going to use this command. It's printui.exe space /im. Okay. We're going to add a printer using IP. IP device. And we're going to use the same IP address up here. We're using a custom port, have disk, and we're going to select our driver. Okay. We're going to use the current driver, and we're going to name this one 385. And let's see, yellow is the one that's contaminated, so I'm going to run just a full page of yellow. And we'll point that to 385. Print. And we can see in our utility again, we're ready to print, so we'll turn on the conveyor. Okay. So all we want to see here is that this black contamination clears up by the end of the print. If it clears up by the end of the print, it's gone. A little crooked on the belt. Okay, now that the contamination's cleared up, we're going to run another test. So quick hold, test print. It's looking better. We do have these gaps between our dies, and that's just a matter of calibration. So we'll go into calibration really quickly. This needs to be done at the customer's end anyway, so we're not going to go too crazy trying to get these closed up, but we'll at least walk through how to do it. On settings screen, we're going to go to calibration. This top is their zone overlap, and that's going to be closing in the gaps between the dies. So it looks like every other one we need to boost it about 2 or 3. So that's kind of what we have. And then we're also going to boost up those. Send calibration. test. The gaps are still there, but we closed them up a little bit. One thing that's causing these gaps is how high we are actually sitting off the belt. So that's another reason why we're not going to spend a lot of time on this beforehand. Once the customer sets this up on their own base, it'll be up to them to get this as close to the belt as they can for whatever they're printing on. The other type of calibration we have access to is going to be our die offset. So if this die is printing later than this one, so we can see that this one is a little bit further from the top of the page than the one to the left.